yeah. Sunday night, news time. Hope you've had a great day. Good day at church. And we are here, the news desk, coming to you live from Studio A in North Georgia, beside the banks of the Southern Fried River, as it gently flows from north to south through the state, flowing by Studio B, where Rob's at, and empty in parts unknown in the state of Florida. We'll search that out someday. Where is the Southern Fried River? Well, we can't tell you. It's a secret. But we are on the banks of it. I'm Dave the AM, a.k.a. the Cornbread Man. Thank you, Angry Conservative. I have fully embraced the title, the Cornbread Man. That one thing that you did has been great. And I love it. I am fully embracing. I'm not afraid of change. I'll always be Dave in the AM. Had that moniker for a long, long time. But at the same time, I love the Cornbread Man. So we actually have a lot of logos and stuff for that on it now. And it goes really well. We didn't make it last Sunday night. We actually did an extended MAGA report last Sunday night. And so basically served the same purpose, but two different shows. This is News Desk, and it has been around longer than the MAGA report. But MAGA report, typically, the MAGA, or Southern Fried MAGA, sometimes airs on Saturday. MAGA report is a Monday through Friday, 1 hour news update that we do, depending on what shows we got going on. It's a packed schedule. You want to try to do those early Monday through Friday as I can, because some nights it might be later, but some nights we have 2 hour shows set up, plus sports, plus racing. It's a full and great schedule. And so, but we're here, and we've had a lot going on. As you know, those that follow the show know my wife had an emergency situation a few weeks ago, and we have been kind of playing catch up ever since. We're pretty much there. It's just with everything else going on. But it can be, if you get behind on shows, it can be really hard to make them up. Sometimes you can't. We try to make them up, but we can't. Wow, what a day in the news for our country. We've been covering some of this. Some of it has escalated very quickly in the last few days. Of course, there are areas of the country where there are people that have been getting more violent towards the police force, and ICE specifically, due to them picking up people in their community. But nothing like what we're seeing now in LA. Of course, this weekend the president called out the National Guard, and it has just intensified. If you saw the activities that were occurring against the police, and now we have sittings, members of Congress, if I can get it out, members of Congress who are fanning the flames, we might say, and trying to make this thing a much bigger deal than others have made it. Obviously for political reasons, or just to enjoy the chaos, but mostly for political reasons. And of course, there's always going to be a camera nearby to pick up those comments. For those that are, there's, everybody can learn something, and we can all have something wrong, or we get bad information. But there's no excuse for those people that are posting today that the president could call out the National Guard now, but he couldn't on January 6th. If anybody has ever followed that story, that has been debunked so many times that they refused to do that the offer was made, and who refused it. I'm not going to backtrack. It is what it is. But there's a lot of leftists and liberals who are posting that today all over social media. You've probably seen that. That's not productive, and it just makes them look ignorant. We'll just say that. I'm sure they actually know. Well, they may be that ignorant. I'm sure they actually know they're just trying to fan the flames, as we say, stir the pot. But truly, some of them seem like they really do not know what had happened and the events that led up to January 6th. This is on a scale that is way bigger than January 6th. Let's just say that. For whatever happened at the Capitol and whatever you feel about that, inside, outside, and around that, this has now turned into something way bigger than the violence perpetrated by some there. And of course, unfortunately, the death of Ashley Babbitt, which has now been settled financially with her family, and of course others that were injured that day. This is made way bigger. It involves a lot more people involved. We do have National Guard troops with the talk that Marines could be called in. I don't know that that would happen, but hey, you never know. The most troubling part of all this for any of us is the fact that we have governors, senators, mayors, and the list goes on, council people, groups. Latinos for Trump was one of them, who are now trying to, not, but Latinos for Trump, to be fair, didn't go to the level that some of them went, but are saying that the president needs to back off, that this has gotten out of hand and violence and whatever you feel about it. This was no secret that this was going to happen. It was made very clear. It's not like they just showed up and started deporting people. It's been going on since shortly after the election. Before the election, there were still some that were deported. I mean, they're not on the scale, the numbers. There's more coming over than being deported, but everybody knew this was going to happen. Of course, they've been planning for it. It's an opportunity for an event, a news. Good evening, Miss Terry. Thank you for coming in on podcast. Hope you had a blessed day. So the president says they won't bend the knee. They're not going to cow down and cater to these people. And so we're probably in for some really rough days ahead. It's really a sad indication in our country of some people that we have in the country, and some of the things that they were doing to the police officers, to vehicles, to themselves, the way they talk to them. It's really sad. And no matter what, again, I go back and I have said this time and again, no matter what you feel about a matter, violence, it cannot be allowed, and it is never the answer. We may not like something, but we just don't have a right to break rules of law and destroy stuff. And I said that on January 6th. Didn't have a right. There were things that happened there that they were not a right to do. Of course, there's a lot of things that happened there on both sides. And there were people that were charged that didn't do anything. We know that. We know there are people in jail still. We know there are people that committed suicide because of the way the lawfare did them, the way they told them there would be no excess charges, no felonies, and then came back and were telling them they would get 25 years. And some people just couldn't handle the pressure of that and committed suicide. So there were things happening there. This is not a January 6th talk, but just to be fair, there were things that happened there. Violence is never the answer in anything. And in this country, we have gotten to the point where protests are not protests. Protests are armed, resistance, destruction, fires, brick throwings. I mean, you name it, they're doing it. That's not what we're about. And we do have to pull that down. Now, I know the bigger it gets, the harder it is. And I don't think anybody wants to see, well, I won't say that, because there's a lot of people that would want to see this escalate to a matter for different and varying reasons, to see those on the ground injured and or deceased due to violence. That's not what we need either. However, when you have this much resistance going on, this much violence, and the numbers are growing, under the flags of foreign countries, by the way, yes, not American flags being flown. I mean, this is America. You can fly your flags, and they have the freedom to do that. But you're showing your allegiance not to America, to a flag of a foreign country, and that's what's been being promoted. In fact, there's a iconic picture you can see in the New York Post of a person who is waving the Mexican flag, and it has become, they say, a symbol. And people are complaining about it on the left, saying that it makes the president look good. Well, it does, you know. So, as this escalates, the potential is there. The potential for that to happen, and that would be horrible for our nation. But there are people that want to see that, sure, on both sides of the issue, and maybe there's a third or fourth side, but they would like to see that happen. And that's not good. We don't need to see that. We need to put down. Absolutely, we need to stop. And people, we have a job to do. There are people here that need to be removed from the country, and you don't have a right to stand in front of that. And hear me close, politicians. You could be charged as well, and some of the things that do it and should be charged. I believe that right now we have politicians that are basically, by their actions and their voice, are leading the resistance movement. They are, in effect, coming against the United States of America. That's a jailable offense. I don't have a problem with it. I honestly do not. And this, if you're going to turn and commit treason, you have a duty as a mayor or as a governor or whatever. You can just do whatever you want. There's a duty to protect citizens. There's a duty to obey law. And certainly, we have a problem in our country where sometimes laws are made that are bad laws, and it causes us to, that's where the road of, we may all cross one day where we find ourselves in, the more laws are made, we find ourselves in violation of the law, and we say, I can't abide by that. It goes against my Christian faith, or, one would be our weapons. We have the right to, they're going to take those. That's always talked about. But that would be one where people are going to stand up. And sheriffs have said, we want to enforce a law like that for law-abiding citizens who have the right to own those things. So there are those things that can happen. But you don't have a right to burn a city down, hurt police officers, attack the National Guard. And you certainly don't have a right as a senator to be trying to enter places that you have no right being, and or to make veiled threats and things, sometimes not even veiled, to the National Guard troops. And as Joe would say, enough is enough. Enough's enough. And it needs to stop. Of course, that's not going to happen. So here we got several things on the front lines in our own nation and across the world that we're dealing with tonight as a nation. And as a Christian, I would say soak the nation in prayer. Absolutely. I believe Christians are. I believe churches are. I believe that's what's holding this nation together, is the prayer of those of faith who are praying for the nation. And that's not to say that people who are not Christian don't care. And in their way, they may be saying prayers, and they may be having good thoughts, or they're trying their best to, and they're hoping this will stop. Certainly there's that going on. But as a Christian, we know that we should pray for our leaders. We're commanded to do that, and we need to pray for those officers, and we need to pray that nobody gets hurt. Nobody wants to see that. It would be a flame, a spark that would just blow it up. And if we don't want to see scenes like we saw in the 60s. No matter the right or the wrong of that, we don't want to see those scenes. But it may get there. It absolutely may get there. It may get there tonight. Our nation is set up on the basis of that we do not use our military against the citizens of this country. But in this case, our military is having to keep the peace and keep those separated. So in defense of those things can happen. Things can escalate. And it can get ugly very, very quickly. What I was going to say earlier is that if my dad, which I would never have done it, if my dad ever saw me out acting up like that, they wouldn't have to deal with it. He would have. And, where are the people that these people belong to? What, where's the families at? You see their pictures on how they're acting and stuff. Go jerk or not their tails, we say here in the South, to pull them home and say, this needs to stop. You're making us all look bad, and this is not what we're here in America for. And I would begin to check some of these people in the protest. Are they legally here? Are they not? Pull out your agitators. That's what they do in mass demonstrations. People are acting up. You get the ringleaders. You get them out, and it tends to quieten down those. The rabble rouse is the one that's egging everybody on to go attack. They pull those people out. It's a part of their tactics. They pull them out and they take them away in cuffs, and they'll take as many of those kinds of people as they need to and detain them elsewhere so that they're not there to do that. It works pretty well. So you get those people out of there, and you tap down on this, and everybody had to pull away. Obviously, I'd be checking their citizenship. Who are you? Where are you from? And what are you doing? And they should be charged. And I believe there needs to be in America today, is my belief. It's my show. I can say it's like you have a belief. This has been escalating a lot over the last few years. We think of what happened in Minnesota, different places, Wisconsin, and all around the country, Atlanta, different places. And these people that are leading these people to be violent, that are calling for insurrections and the destruction and or injury to our law enforcement personnel, they have got to amp the charges up. These people are back on the street sometimes the same night. These people need to have some severe charges placed on them that would take them out of the game for a long time if they're convicted of those. We need to have an escalator on this for those that are like that, and start getting these people, because a lot of these protests we found out as they've investigated is that they're not even from here, and they're paid. A lot of them, and some of the protests have been paid agitators, as they call them, by different groups, different organizations. Of course, some of those funds have dried up, and then we need to find out who rented the trucks and drove the ball bats, the bricks, and all that stuff that are in the areas that obviously planned for violence. Find out who these people are and arrest them, and also heavily charge them to a degree that it's going to be one heck of a long time before they think they want to do that again. And in severe cases, I have no problem with taking them to Gitmo and getting them out of the United States for a good long time, and let them enjoy the hotel Gitmo. And sure, give them their lawyers and all that, work the case there. It's part of that's American soil. But take them there and get them out of here, and don't let them revert back on the street and causing the next insurrection. And then these groups that are, if we can trace back who's paying for this, then they need to be dealt with very severely. This is insurrection within our nation. It's calling for violence. It's treasonous acts against our nation, and we have to deal with it in such a way. And we need to do that. I believe that's what I think everything I've said, but in some of those cases, I believe you're going to start to see that. There's just going to be those that are going to be there for the protest, defending them, saying it's just a protest. It's just they're exercising their right. No, they're not. You don't have a right to destroy a city. You don't have a right to destroy buildings, police cars. You don't have a right to attack police and throw bricks and harm them. And they don't have a right to that. It's not protest. So we need to deal with that. I think most people understand that. Now, I've heard some people on, and some of them are even friends of mine, and they're calling for much different kind of actions. And I'm not going to go there, but I get their feeling, and I get why they feel the way they do, is because of they're sick of it. They're just sick of it. But our country has been so divided for so long, and I think people do need to be smart. Everybody loses when this kind of thing happens. Nobody wins. Not true. Nobody wins. So it is very very ugly. There were Apache attack helicopters seen circling. The administration says that other resources are quickly being assembled and sent to the area. This city will probably it's going to have to go under some sort of curfew. There's going to be a limitation of movement, which is not fun. There's going to be areas that are going to be blocked off, and it's going to impact business. But my goodness, you couldn't go to those businesses right now anyway, and some of them are going to be destroyed. And people have a right to protection for their their businesses, their homes, their vehicles, whatever the case may be. So this, unfortunately, is going to turn into a scene that I don't. Unless they back down, unless we're able to get that to back down. But there are Right now there's the tear gas going on. I haven't seen the latest. Um, we're going to have to amp up even more. There's about 300 National Guard that arrived in Los Angeles early this morning. Uh, but we've got leaders that are saying they're going to resist. They're not going to comply. They're not going to do whatever, and it's going to amp up a lot more. The demonstrators attempted to block the Border Patrol vehicles. We've seen that. Throwing rocks, chunks of cement. There's obviously the tear gas, flashbangs, explosives have been used, and pepper balls. And yes, there is the story, or the inflamed story about the young baby that got maybe some tear gas or something in her face. That's unfortunate, but what are you doing with a child like that out in a place like that? I mean, can we not use some common sense, Mom? First of all, you shouldn't be there doing it. Why did you bring a child? I mean, that's severely dumb. And I hope the child's okay. I mean, your main job is to protect your child. You failed. You have failed your duty as a mother. Get this child out of there. This child does not need to be in the middle of this. I mean, sometimes you just wonder where the thinking is on stuff like this. We didn't know there was going to be violence. What do you think is going to happen? And you're taking your child? Let's maybe investigate Mom and find out if she's fit. On that basis alone, I say no, she's not fit. If you can't protect your child, you're taking them into a danger zone. This child now has been injured. I'm not saying take away, but investigate and find out if there's other things they're taking the child to. They may have to take the child. I mean, if you're not going to do your duty, you have no business being there. Now, there may be a backstory here I don't know, and if I am wrong, I'll back up. But what are we doing there with children? Get out of there. Maybe it's in your area, even if you live there, but stay home. Don't be out there. Don't take the child. This child should never be in a situation like that. Hope you're enjoying the coffee. Quick word of note. Of course, this program is brought to you by Mammoth Nation behind me. Got a QR code. You have to go on our site and see. I know you can't see it on TV to scan it, but Mammoth Nation has a half-price sale right now for lifetime membership from $250 down to $125. I did that last year about this time. And you get great discounts. American companies selling American-made products, and you go through the portal, you pay the money, you're going to make the money back easily on the savings. I have ordered several things from several companies, and they're adding to the list all the time. Then as you see on the screen, Patriot Mobile. Oh, they're honoring D-Day right now. I was talking to them this weekend, early in the weekend. They've actually watched some of the podcasts. They're awesome, and I would say that I don't say things I don't mean. They're awesome, and they've got great deals going on now. Boy, they're just killing June. You already get a month free by using our promo code Cornbread, which helps us. We're in the loyalty program for Patriot Mobile. This is an America First company, not like Mammoth Nation. America First. They love America. They are pro First and Second Amendment. They are there for the defense of the preborn, and they promote again their faith in Christ. They've been around for 11 years in the great state of Texas. God bless Texas. And you can get, with our promo code, the first month free. This month they're also got other deals to waive the activation fee. If you are ever thinking about making a switch, now's the time to do it. And then start referring people there. And if they refer off of, and use your code or your name, you'll find out the information on that. And you get $50 per towards your bill, or a new phone. These people are amazing, and they just encourage us. And we've made the switch. I have a phone that's charging on the desk right now. This phone is a Patriot Mobile phone. It's a business phone for us. Robert just made the switch with his phone. He was waiting until his contract ran up. He wanted to finish that up. He just made the switch last weekend. Folks, when you call them, their customer service is off the chart. And they use Americans that live here for their customer service. So I'm not being mean, but you can understand them. And they are patient. They'll call you back. I had to hang up. they called me back and when I was trying to get my phone set up, I had some problems with it because it wasn't their fault, it's mine. Probably because I'm just not very technological when it comes to phones. I do all this podcast, but when it comes to phones and switching, I've never done it before. I've had the same uh, phone, and you can still keep your platform, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. I've been with the same company for 30 years. So I've never done that. I don't switch around. I've had the same number for 30 years. This is the 30th year that I've had my number. I have a couple of others. One's for the business. I have a backup phone with all that's going on in my life. But I've had the same number. Everybody knows my number. I don't shield that. It's out there. Thousands upon thousands of people have my number. And just tickled to be a part of the Patriot Mobile and Mammoth Nation. Then I just want to say quickly, and we'll move on to more news and further talk about this. What I really started to say when I was talking about the program being brought to you by, we have our store. We're revamping. We're putting up some more logos and stuff for shirts, hats, cups, all that, threadless. That's tied into our website, Southern Fried Cornbread Nation, www.southernfriedcornbreadnation.com. We got a .com. We want to make sure we add that. And we have it. And that is our business name, and that is our website name. And that store link is there. Well, very soon you're going to see a Shopify link that'll be tied in with that. And we're going to be selling our own Southern Fried coffees. We're coming up with our names right now. And Robin are bouncing these ideas back and forth. I think we've got 4 that we're settled on. We're negotiating on 4 more, 8 for sure, could be 10 total blends that we're going to do. We'll announce the name soon, and we'll probably have one that we let our faithful listeners vote on. So I think we're good. We're getting there. We got to get the artwork and everything for these, and soon you can have a Southern Fried Coffee shipped straight to you, we don't have to ship it; they'll do it for us. And other things will be in our e-commerce store. That's coming very, very soon. I will be working on that over the next 2 weeks, and we hope to have everything set up as well. And additionally to the website, you'll see an embedded player there soon. I've got to work with my web builder who has built that for us, and we'll get our programs actually embedded on the site. All the links are there. I think I've got one more link to add, and we'll also have a newsletter that will be planted there, or a link to it at least. That will be coming out weekly. We're ready for that, and it'll be short to begin with. In fact, the first one will be this one. It's a little bit behind, but we're there, and so it'll have links to all the things that I'm talking about in the newsletter. So if you'd like for us to send it to you, we won't send you anything unless you say okay, and it'll be 1 a week maximum. Just send us an email to the Southern Fried Podcast. Some of you already have. We have your emails in there. You've not sent anything yet because we haven't sent anything except a social media post from MailChimp. It'll be from MailChimp, from the Southern Fried. And we will send that once a week. We will not overload your email box. I get frustrated with companies that I realize it's a marketing fight, but we're just not going to do that. We're not going to see. It'd have to be something really special for us to send more than one. And we would announce that ahead of time that we were going to do that. Our desire is to only do that early in the week and leave you alone. And we look at it or not, that's up to you. But we're not going to continue just to send you, 10 posts a day to your email box. I get people that do that, and I'm like, come on. And I like these companies. I don't take them out. I just don't look at all of them. I get a lot of emails. To say that I get 200 or 300 a day is fair, and that adds to all the time. But there's a lot of reasons for that. Some things are ministry, some things are business, some things are just things I like that I want to keep up with. I'm tracking news, business, whatever. So that's a lot, though. Sometimes I just go in and clean out my email. I think the most I've had is over 1,000 before I got to it. I was like, oh, help me, Lord. but we get it. So anyway, a little bit about it. Also, the Jub and Bubba Show, 3rd edition. My hope is Tuesday night. It's about halfway recorded. And the hope is to finish that up tomorrow Uh, they're off the chain again with some new music, though. The Jeb and Bubba music, for those that don't know, they're behind me back there. You can see Jeff with the MAGA hat, Uncle Jeff. Uh, for those that don't know, Uncle Jeff and Georgia Bubba go around the country and they get into some mischief and have some fun. One's old, one's young, and they love each other. Although that word love is used this week, and you've got to watch just to see Jeb's response to Georgia Bubba talking about love. So they go to a place that's well known around here, and of course they have some political things they want to share, and a little bit about social media. That's already in the can. So we will have that hopefully Tuesday night. We'll post it, release it 8 p.m. something like that, 8 or 9 p.m. We'll announce it though. Third edition of the Jeb and Bubba Show. New characters are coming for the Jeb and Bubba Show as well. At least 3, maybe 4. They'll happen over time. We'll announce those soon. All right. Chaos and Cali. What I called the show. Chaos and Cali. Well, let's go across the world and the ongoing saga of Russia and Ukraine. And that has not been good. It is escalating as well. We already know about the increased attacks by Russia on Ukrainian cities. They're making advances on the ground. We know about Ukraine's hit to the planes on the tarmac and to the bridge linking Russia proper with Crimea and other things as well. Well, yesterday, Russia hit Ukraine with the second largest city, Kharkiv, with a massive drone and bomber attack. Now, you knew Putin was not going to stand down after the planes were hit and the bridge and just let that go. There's going to be no peace agreement. Fighting is going to occur. And even the president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, has said it looks like they're going to have to fight it out for a while. He can't get nowhere with them. There's been reports that Putin will not even take the phone call with the president right now. He's angry with us. He's angry with Europe. He's angry with NATO. And he's certainly angry with Ukraine. And no matter where you follow this, it is a mess and it's getting uglier. 4 were killed, nearly 60 were injured. Their apartment buildings, of course, were hit. They also hit Kherson, and 2 people were killed there in strikes. That's in southern Ukraine. And the Kharkiv mayor said that 48 drones, 2 missiles, and 4 glide bombs have been used against the city on Friday night, while more bombs reportedly dropped on Saturday. So, as I said, this is the Russian way. I've been saying this a lot. If you just, I didn't come up with it. If you just look at Russia's attack positioning, their modus operandi, what they do, how they do things. One of those is that they surround a city and they just pummel it. They just reduce it to dust. And that's really what's happening. Is they just mass bomb, they hit the structures, they make life difficult for the people, and just flatten it. That's why there's no obstacles. And so up till now, a lot of those cities that were not as big as Kyiv, the capital, but were very good size in western Ukraine and even to the east of the Dnieper River. Some of those were not hit recently. They've been sort of left alone. Well, that plane attack deep in the heart of Russia, not deep in the heart of Texas, but deep in the heart of Russia, changed all that. And so now Russia is amped up and is hitting some of the secondary cities that are still very large cities. Very large cities. Sumy is an area that that region and city, Russia's actually all over it. They're going to take that whole that's east of the Dnieper River, southeast of Kyiv, and it's an area that Russia's been working intently to take, and also to drive the troops out of their region of Russia. The Sumy city, I think, is about 250,000 strong. It's a decent-sized city, and they've been hitting it pretty hard. They've also been making hay with The fiber optic drones, we talked about that, the fiber optic drones that Ukraine does not have many of, if any. They're trying to make them. And Russia is lighting them up. The fiber optics cannot be jammed. They can get tangled. The drones can be shot down, but they can hover and they can't be jammed, and they can hover up there and move around, and it pins down the Ukrainian troops for hours or if not days. And these units don't have to be large in nature. They can be 2 to 3 man units that go out and they just saturate the area and look for uh, points that are not as well guarded, because the Ukrainians cannot guard the whole front. And now they don't even know where the front line is, because the front line is a patchwork of front lines. Because sometimes the front line may be coming from behind you or to the east or west of you instead of in your front, because the lines have become not straight or even frontal, because that's the tactic that Russia has been doing. Kyiv itself, has at times taken damage. There were missile, warnings that went on for 12 and 14 hours that, people are just taking cover. So disruptions again in these cities, and that's unfortunate. There was a prisoner swap that was agreed to at the de facto peace conference, which really there wasn't a chance in Hades that there was going to be any peace that come out of that conference. It only lasted a little more than an hour, but one thing they did agree on was a prisoner swap. But there's some confliction among each side on what that really would look like. The BBC is reporting this. In Kharkiv, according to the BBC, 18 apartment buildings and 13 other homes were hit on Friday night. A baby and a 14-year-old girl are among the injured. One civilian industrial facility was attacked by 40 drones. Can you imagine that? Your workplace? One missile and 4 bombs. Kharkiv Mayor Ole Senevlov added that there might still be people buried under the rubble. In a later Russian attack using a glide bomb on Kharkiv on Saturday evening, one person was killed and another 18 people were injured, according to the city's mayor. The Ukrainian foreign minister has urged the allies to increase pressure on Moscow to take more steps to strengthen Ukrainian response to Russia's latest attacks. They're looking for more supplies, more money. They've been in Washington recently looking for that. Americans are about fed up. Most Americans are about fed up with this. It's getting uglier, and nobody wants to be wrapped up in it anymore. But you got NATO right there in the mix. And so we'll see. Thursday night, Russia attacked the country with more than 400 drones and nearly 40 missiles. President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine said the strikes on Kharkiv made no military sense and were pure terrorism. He accused his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, of buying himself time to keep waging the war, and said pressure must be applied to stop the attacks. During the latest round of direct talks in Istanbul, they agreed to exchange all sick and heavily wounded prisoners of war aged under 25, as well as of the bodies. Get this, 12,000 soldiers. Now, we don't even know what the total casualty count is in this war. There has been a number that's been proposed, 1.4 million total. Nobody knows. It's blood. We know that. Moscow's chief negotiator at the meeting, a lot of Vladimirs. They're all spelled different. Well, most of them. He spelled Vladimir Medinsky. Vladimir is a popular name in the region. Said on Saturday that Ukraine had unexpectedly postponed both the acceptance of bodies and the exchange of prisoners of war for an indefinite period. Okay, that's, again, just can't even agree on that. He further said that the bodies of more than 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers had been taken to an agreed exchange point, but that Ukrainian officials never arrived. A list of 640 prisoners of war had also been handed to Ukraine in order to begin the exchange, Medinsky wrote on social media. Ukrainian officials responded angrily to the allegations, telling Russia to stop playing dirty games. So it just, war is horrible, and it is getting ugly. And isn't it interesting in this modern day warfare? Remember the Gulf War? You could see the cameras on the planes, helicopters. When they were hitting, it's kind of grainy, black and white a lot of times. You would see it pinpoint an area, then all of a sudden the bomb would come in, big dust cloud of explosion, everything. And they would show that to show what they'd hit, and then do overview pictures to show damage assessment. Now we get full color video, like a video game, full color, full on, as the attack is going on, and others that are capturing the damage that are flying around, getting full color video for us. You sit at home, it's like a video game almost, but it's real life, and these are being played out on the everywhere you can find these through your phone or tablet or computer. I mean, we're all watching this in real time, but somewhat real time. I know some of it's lagging because they don't want to give up their position, but basically they released this pretty quick after they've done it. Ukraine said it used 117 drones that were first smuggled into Russia. The attack they did on the planes, then placed inside wooden cabins mounted on the back of lorries and concealed below remotely operated detachable roofs. These drivers didn't even know what they had, right? They were driven to locations near the Russian air bases by drivers who most likely didn't know, or we know didn't know. The drones were then launched remotely. On Saturday, Ukraine released more footage from that attack showing a single drone's entire flight. President Donald Trump said Friday that Ukrainians had given Putin a reason to go in and bomb the H out of them last night. By the way, the president did not know any specifics for this attack. But he did not know that. I'm sure he wasn't happy. I know they don't always tell other leaders they were fixing it yet. But usually you would think with all the money and all the support that we've given them, there would be some kind. They said there was something, I think it's specific, just operations, but there was no specifics. But, you would think you would bring in the leader of the biggest country, the biggest provider of your war. And so he did not know. I'm sure he was not happy about that. See, he earlier said during a phone call, Putin had told him very strongly. He claims he's talking to Putin. Some had said he couldn't get the phone call. I don't know. Retired generals, sometimes they get their info right, sometimes wrong. Of course, that may have changed recently. They said that Moscow would have to respond following Ukraine's airfield attacks. So everybody knew that. To summate, Russia lost this invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, and it controls around 20%. This has increased. I remember it was 5, I remember it was 10, I remember it was 15. Now we're up to a full 20% of Ukrainian territory, including the Crimean Peninsula, and that is 2014 after the overthrow of Ukraine's pro-Russian president. So the peace talks go nowhere. The violence continues to escalate. The United States is still on the hook for money, weapons. They want more. And other nations are wanting to get involved. There's some NATO nations are wanting to step up and be more involved. There are some other nations that want to get involved in the war on a first-hand basis, it seems like. Poland is one of those nations that would like to get involved in a higher degree. At least people within Poland. Maybe the leader himself doesn't. But Poland has a strong military, been building it up, and has made a lot of talk. Some of their leaders have made a lot of talk about Russia. They're for it. They want to see this continue on and to damage Russia as much as possible, with the hope that they would be in a position to invade anybody for one heck of a long time. But We will see Zelensky and this Kerry Naraki, the new leader of Poland, conservative, uh, was sent a message by Vladimir Zelensky, let's see, 6 days ago, congratulating him on winning the presidential election. He went on to say, "This is Zelensky. Poland, which preserves the strength of its national spirit and its faith in justice, has been and remains a pillar of regional and European security and a strong voice defending freedom and dignity for everybody." The Polish leader, newly elected, said, "Thank you for your President Zelensky. Thank you for your message. I'm looking forward to the continued partnership of our countries based on mutual respect and understanding. I believe it requires not only good dialogue, but also solving overdue historical issues. There's problems between that go back, so there's some feelings there between the two that is not liked, and they've got to work through those. After all, there's a lot of hatred in this country, in this region rather, for everybody else. War has been a part of their history for a millennium." Uh, he said, "I believe it requires not only a good dialogue, but also solving overdue historical issues. Poland has been Ukraine's strongest supporter against the Russian aggression. No other nation understands this threat more than we do, and I hope we'll continue to work together for the common good, for settling the unsettled past." See, there's still this whatever is going on. There's some anger there. Settling the unsettled past and building safe future together. Interesting. Absolutely interesting. A lot of dynamics in this region. And I say we need to get the heck out. That's what I say. We will see. I don't like that. I don't. It wouldn't be good for Poland. It wouldn't be good for any of those to get in to this, and hopefully they will stand down and not, because we need to see this ended as quickly as possible. It's not something that we need. It's not good for America. It's not good for the world, and it is, again, it just continues to increase in attack, and one side hits the other side, then they just continue to hit back, and nothing gets done except more attacks. And I think the president has now realized that his belief that he can end this quickly is, well, he realizes because he can't do it, and he now knows that, and he admits that. Now, what he tries to say is, look, I would have never let it get started. Maybe so, but it's a little too late for that, Mr. President. You have to deal with the now, and he knows that. I'm not telling you anything he wouldn't know. Not that he would even hear me. So, and then there's the whole Middle East issue, which is continuing to become a humanitarian crisis for food, housing, medicine. There's got to be something done there. Back to the United States, according to Fox News, California sheriff calls former Vice President Kamala, calls her out because of some rhetoric that has been said as this ongoing escalation continues. California sheriff calls Harris' statement on anti-ICE rights and, quote, embarrassment, end quote. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, California gubernatorial candidate, blasted former Vice President Kamala Harris over her claims that the Trump administration is to blame for the LA unrest. Quote, President Trump didn't start these riots. He's not out there lighting cars on fire, hurling projectiles at law enforcement, or blocking freeways. This statement is an embarrassment. It does nothing to diffuse the violent riots taking place across the city, end quote. Bianco posted in a statement on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Quote, the Democrats and their leaders own this, end quote. He continued. Harris claimed that what was unfolding in Los Angeles County was a result of the Trump administration's, quote, cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division, end quote. But this administration's actions are not only about public safety, they're also about stoking fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. I believe we have gave due process. Anyway, let's continue. Harris stated in response to Trump's deploying National Guard troops to help with the anti-ICE riots. You know, one of the things, let me stop right here. One of the things we have in America is we have these people, and there's athletes that feel this way, there are senators, there are ex-politicians, there are community activists, all of them. You know what they want? You know what they really want? They want to be made famous. They're starving for it. They want to be placed in the history books as someone who made change. And they're starved for it. They're addicted to it. They look back at true heroes who stood up against great injustices committed against African Americans and others. And they so want to be there. I think they're almost jealous of it. You know, because of the some of those people paid with their lives. I mean, how much do you want to be made famous? But change can happen, but you know, that's not an area we need to go to. I mean, that's extreme. But anyway, they look for every time we have one of these. Of course, it's political too. They want votes, but they continually to want more fame, more power, and they want to be able to write the chapter of their life that this is where I was a hero. This is my Selma moment. This is me holding hands, walking across the bridge. They are sad, and I can prove my point on this. I can absolutely prove it. No matter what someone thought about President Bush's actions during 9/11, there were people at that time that were completely upset that other presidents were not there to handle it. They were jealous that even though they criticized him and mocked him and everything that happened with that, they saw it as unfair that he was getting notorious and famous to be able to step up. So when he stood there with that bullhorn on the remains of what the smoldering remains of the World Trade Center, one or two, I think it was one, whatever, and he said, "I hear you. You know, they're going to hear from us too." I'm paraphrasing. They wanted their leaders to be that way on the left. They wanted we missed it. Like it should have been us. They were jealous of it. Are you kidding me? They just look at what just happened, the loss of life and, you know, danger to our nation. And that's their comment. I heard those comments. I remember. I planted those in the old brain. So I remember that. It's just not fair. It should be a Democrat president handling this. Are you kidding? Are you wanting more of it to happen so that you can be famous? That's what this reminds me of. Bianco added a video of a scene from the riots and urged the public not to be gaslighted. Quote, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Karen Bass. If you don't know, Karen Bass is the mayor of Los Angeles. She's had her own problems recently, right? And the Democrats want you to think this is a, quote, peaceful protest, end quote, Bianco said. Don't let them gaslight you. This is Gavin's lawless California. Our state deserves better. Bianco said he is monitoring the situation closely, and there is a zero tolerance policy for any criminal activity associated with, quote, peaceful protest, end quote. And adherence to the law is an absolute requirement. Amen. You know, you don't want to miss your amen moments in church. That's an amen moment. I'll read it again. And adherence to the law is an absolute requirement if we are to remain a civilized society, Bianco said in a news release from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. I applaud you, sir. I could not have said it better, and I agree 100% with it. We have to have the rule of law. We cannot have these people just taking over our cities and committing mass carnage and mayhem. Any person breaking the law, encouraging or inciting this behavior, or assaulting or obstructing law enforcement will be arrested, jailed, and prosecuted. Hear, hear. Feel like pounding the table. Hear, hear. Absolutely. 100% agree with that statement. We have to defend our cities and we have to defend America. That's one of government's main jobs, right? To defend the United States of America and its citizens. Have not always lived up to that. Now, 1 hour ago, this dropped, and I'd heard it earlier, but this dropped. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said 500 Marines are on a, quote, prepared to deploy status in response to the mounting arrests in Los Angeles County. Approximately 500 Marines. See, folks, get serious. Well, we need a de-escalation. It's fixing to get real, as the saying is. Very real, or for real. So some of the young ones used to say. We probably got new terms now. I'm an old man. They would say for real. I hear a lot of adults say it too. It cracks me up. 500 Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines at 29 Palms, California, are in a prepared to deploy status should they be necessary to augment and support the DoD's protection of federal property and personal efforts. U.S. Northern Command sent a news release. In addition to the Marines, U.S. North Command said 2,000 California Army National Guard soldiers have been placed under federal command and control. Approximately 2,000 California Army National Guard soldiers have been placed under federal command and control in a Title X status to support the protection of federal personnel and federal property in the greater Los Angeles area, the department said. The department added that there are currently 300 members of the California Army National Guard's combat team deployed in several locations. Ain't near enough, right? 300 ain't going to get it. Got to bring more. From the National Guard's 79th Infantry Brigade combat team deployed at the following locations in the greater Los Angeles area: Los Angeles, Paramount, and Compton. Oh my God, we need to check in Compton, California. I promise you, 300 ain't going to get the job done in Compton. It may not in Los Angeles. Paramount, maybe. Los Angeles, we're going to need more. But Compton, dang right, we're going to need a lot more. The department said more information will be provided as units are identified and deployed. My goodness. As things de-escalate, the LA mayor, Karen Bass, what a piece of work she's been. While fires raged, remember she was out of town. Why is this lady still mayor? My God. Oh, man. Anyway, she's had to cede a little bit. Just kills her, I'm sure. She blamed the Trump administration for the anti-ICE riots taking place in the streets, acknowledging that while she supports the right to protest, this has killed her to have to admit this, some across the city were not peaceful. You don't say. Some, like all the ones that we've been seeing video from, that they've been, attacking the police officers and damaging property, taking over streets and freeways and setting fires and all the things go. You got to admit that some across the city were not peaceful. Bless your heart, as we say here in the South. In the news conference Sunday evening, Bass said that what is happening in her city was created by the Trump administration. Well, sure, yeah. You know why? Because we said we were going to get them out of here, and they refused. So if you want to say he created it by saying we're getting them out. They created a situation off of that to say we ain't going. So here we are. These people, I tell you. She goes on to say people should exercise their right to protest. But again, that's a catchword that does not mean what it ever meant before. She means violence, and she knows she does. That's their First Amendment right. But people should also exercise that right peacefully. See, they're getting in trouble. They went out and egged these people on. Resist. We're not going to comply. Well, we're standing against the president. Well, that's getting out of hand. And, maybe she's afraid, maybe I could get arrested. I am, I'm causing a federal scene here. It's out of control. I can't manage it. Our police officers are on the run. They cleared out. And now we got National Guard, Marines on standby, more National Guard, whatever else of resources they need to bring in. You think it might be the time to tap down that talk? But then she spins it. It's always the spin, right? I used to like to watch old Robert, the spin thing. But people should exercise that right peacefully. We do not want to play into the administration's hands. What we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. No, the chaos is brought by your constituents. That's who's promoting this. Your constituents. Why don't you speak to them? Stop. Stand down. But no, we went out there, sanctuary city. We're not complying. We're not going to put up with it. My twisted sister, we're not going to take it anymore. Enough's enough. Well, no, you got more. You don't have a weakling as a president. And it's going to escalate. And I don't want to see that. And if she wants to see that, she's a lunatic. I mean, what do we got to do? Rescue her from the governor's mansion? Fly her out to safety as the area goes up in flames? Remember that time they had to do, there's been leaders around the world when things got out of control. They couldn't control the chaos anymore. The military couldn't even control it. There's always the escape helicopter. The family, they're on the run. They fly out. Like recently in Syria when Bashar Assad, got out, went to Russia or wherever he went. I mean, they ran for their lives as these. Well, we heard nothing from him lately either. The butcher of Syria. So, we're seeing the things get very chaotic. But she also acknowledged that the move to deploy the National Guard was about the Trump agenda, not public safety. She had said that the federal troops is a dangerous escalation, and she joined Governor Newsom by calling on President Trump to rescind the order to federalize the National Guard and put it back in the hands of California officials. Why? You won't use them. You're going to let your city burn down. I want the people of Los Angeles to know that we stand with all Angelenos, no matter where you were born. Wait a minute. If you're not a citizen, you're not an Angeleno. I digress. The First Amendment right gives you the ability again to protest peacefully, but it does not give you the right to be violent, to create chaos, or to vandalize property, and that will not be tolerated. Oh, we're scared. We really believe in you're going to be tough on that, Miss Karen Bass. Come on. She warned that those who entertain violence or take over freeways will suffer the consequences. From whom? Your police are on the run. You want to take the National Guard troops back from under federal jurisdiction, but what are you going to do with them? Nothing. That's an empty threat. You're not doing nothing. You're not going to do nothing. Loud pops from flashbangs and tear gas can be heard as Bass continued to speak, reminding those in the room of the chaos taking place outside. That's not peaceful. Duh! It's not peaceful for people to be on the highways. It's not peaceful for people to throw rocks or bottles. That's not peaceful. How do these people get elected? Well, we know the answer. Lunacy. Try that in Georgia. See what happens. That's all I'll say. Even in Atlanta, and I don't have a lot of use for Atlanta, but even in Atlanta, they deal with it. It's not an easy thing to do there either, to deal with it. And the governor, I'm not a fan of the governor, but he would deal with it. Incredibly stupid. Well, we knew that about her already. I want to say you get what you get, but I mean, there's good people caught up in the middle of this, and they have a right of protection. They have a right of having their property not destroyed. Something has to happen. Unbelievable. The more you think you've reached the end of the lunacy and the ignorance, and I'll admit on both sides, you go to another level of lunacy. This area saw some really horrible. It has a horrible history, right? The '92 riots, and if anything, the president is moving very quickly to stop that. We can't have that happen. It's not good what's happened so far, but let's move to stop it. You take these rabble rousers out. Arrest who you've got to arrest. Get them out of there. Cut off their communication back to these people. Command and control. Command and control always has to be addressed. And then anybody else that wants to step up, be the new leader, we will get them too. And you've got to do that. Cory Booker calls the Los Angeles riots peaceful. Slams Trump for deploying the National Guard. He suggested that the Los Angeles riots have, this is from Fox News, have wreaked havoc on the city are peaceful. On NBC's Meet the Press earlier today. And accused President Donald Trump of sowing chaos with his nationwide crackdown on illegal immigration. The reality is, don't you just love that saying? The reality is. The reality is, well, it is the reality. You don't have to say it. We see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. The New Jersey senator said, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearing. The city of Angeles was plunged into chaos over the weekend after hundreds of riders violently clashed with federal immigration authorities attempting to impede their ability to carry out deportations. So, there you go. You get what you get. De-escalate it. Deal with the bad people, California, and you won't have a problem. You know, this is America. Nothing against any other country, but it's not Mexico. It's not Central or South America. Stop. I don't care how family there that live here. I don't care. This is America. There are laws. You do not have a right to take over a city, just like we don't Sharia law. American cities or areas or villages or hamlets or whatever you want to say can never be allowed to have Sharia law as the law of life. No, we have a constitution. We have laws. Put a stop to it. Take it apart, dissect it, get the bad people prosecuted in a way, and step up those penalties to a point where people will think twice about getting involved with insurrection against the United States of America. It has to stop. It has to stop now. All right, folks, that's what I've got tonight. I may be back on. I'm going to take a quick break. I may not. I don't know yet. But I wanted to come in with the news desk. I'm going to watch some news myself and continue to keep up with the story. Thanks for being here. Don't forget in the morning, the SFP Morning Show, back together with Rob on our Monday. And tomorrow night, Mama said, but MAGA report will also be there, but probably before. MAGA report, then Mama said, Miss Elizabeth. And maybe a surprise for Mama said. Maybe. Tease her. Nobody knows about it. Not Rob, not Elizabeth. A surprise. We'll see. Have a great night. Get some rest. Get ready to attack that Monday. Take it by the horns. Don't let it wrestle you down. You own it. You take it. You make it work for you. You'll get through, and we'll see each other again on the other side of it. And we'll get through that work and pray for our country. Absolutely pray for our country. Thank you for watching the Southern Fried Podcast. For your support, give us a like, a follow, share. Like the Switch Today to Patriot Mobile promo code Cornbread. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And we couldn't do it without you. The numbers are growing every day. And we are humbled and appreciative. I can truly say that. We'll go out with some music. We'll see you either in a little bit or in the morning, depending on how I feel. I've got a few things to take care of to get ready for the morning, so we'll see. Might be in the morning. All right, take care.